audio in your computer there.
Cool.
WTUG HD2 Northport and W265CG Tuscaloosa. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Alabama 1st and 10 on the 12. Again, Houston. He's got a hole. He's over. Alabama touchdown.
I'm just wondering if your listeners know how good a football player you were. I can still see you playing that fullback, knocking those players out of the way. And I believe I could have run behind you.
Martin, I can remember when we came to summer and you were playing fullback up there. And I saw you in the weight room and watched you work out in the weight room. And you could pick up, you were strong enough to pick up the whole weight room. I wanted to take it, and I running back coach in practice. Biggest respect we ever made.
The Martin Houston Show with national championship winning fullback Martin Houston, giving you 1 hour of intense, hard-hitting analysis from an insider's perspective. It's time for the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports, Tide 100.9, and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, we're on in 3, 2, 1.
Good morning. Welcome into the Martin Houston Show on Tide 100.9 on your radio dial. Martin Houston Show fan page on Facebook. Glad to have you up and Adam with us on this beautiful Thursday. Being out on Tuesday almost made me say Thursday edition of the Martin Houston Show. We are live and local and glad to have you with us once again on this beautiful morning. Let's get things going by letting you know that this is a day that the Lord has made. So let's rejoice and be glad in it. Take some time today to notice someone, love someone, serve someone. You be the difference you want to see in the world today. Do not be persuaded by those who do not want to be a difference maker. You be the difference maker today. I want to welcome you into the conversation. You can join us at 205-342-9904, 205-342-9904. The Taco Casa hotline is open for business, so give us a call. Let us hear from you on the Taco Casa hotline, or you're always welcome to get in on the conversation via chat from the social media world. Post your thoughts, your comments, your questions, etc. there, and we'll work those into the conversation. We had a great show yesterday. Didn't get to everything we wanted to, so we just keep carrying it on from one day to the next, like a conversation around the table. We pick up right where we left off and continue right on. Of course, today we will be bringing Hank South into the conversation, and he'll be a part of that conversation talking about recruiting. He'll be joining us in the second half, kicking off the second half in the third quarter. So definitely want to get you into it. And we'll bring Mr. James Ludeman in this morning. Good morning, James. How you doing, sir?
Good morning, Martin. I'm good. I'm looking at that weather report in Miami after the 25 degrees that it's going to be here in T-Town tomorrow, and I'm kind of like, I'm kind of liking my chances here in Miami with 70 degrees over the weekend. So I'm excited, man. I'm ready to go. It's almost to the national championship, man. We're ready.
So when do you head down?
I'm leaving Saturday to go to my family's, and I'm flying out of New Orleans because it was cheaper. So Sunday morning I'll be in Miami, and then I'll be there until Tuesday morning.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, James is a transplant. Where are you originally from, James?
I'm from Tampa, Florida, so I'm about 4 hours from Miami.
So you're getting to make a little, hopefully a little home visit, a little home time with the family, and then he's going to be bringing us live coverage from the national championship game. You've had a pretty good ride so far. We haven't talked a lot this week about Notre Dame, so we'll do that here. Going back now, James, when the last time we played Notre Dame, all of the reporters, including Ryan Fowler, who hosted the game, when he got down there, he said one of the biggest things to him was just how shocking the difference was in the size of the Alabama players and the athletic build and look. And, he said you could see before that game ever started that Notre Dame had zero chance, did not belong. Brian Kelly, he seemed to try to imply that this Notre Dame was built different than the previous ones, and that they belong. Of course, the score didn't bear that out, but did they at least look like they belonged before the kickoff? Because they were beat before the kickoff the last game.
Yeah, I would say the last game a few years ago was just a mess. And you're right, Martin. They looked completely just the way you broke it down was perfect. And in this game specifically, it was a lot of the same, except for you felt like while Notre Dame wasn't going to win the game, I agree with Ryan on that. They're kind of like that pesky fly. They do things that you're kind of like, okay, we can't allow that. We can't do that. Ian Book really tried to be that next level quarterback, and there were some throws that he made that were very good. The running game for Notre Dame was pretty good. There's some things that Alabama has to clean up in order to compete against Ohio State on Monday, which I think they will. And they've already started that process. But yeah, you just look, I remember I went to, not to take too much time here, but I went to the Mississippi State game, and I remember going down to the field level right over by the tunnel where everybody, where Alabama runs out. And I just watched the offensive line warm up. And I just am like, wow, these guys are just on a whole different level. They look good. They're doing the right things. And listen, you can win a game in warm-up just as much as you can lose a game in warm-up. I mean, it's just as important on both sides. So I agree with you. I think Notre Dame was never really in it. I think they were still reeling, to be honest, after the loss to Clemson. I think it was just something they never were able to recover from.
Yeah, and you start thinking, of course, Ohio State win, momentum. Big Mo reared his ugly head on poor Clemson, and they never got anything else, going. And they couldn't stop the tide. But you have to think Notre Dame's thinking we're top four. Clemson drummed us. Ohio State drummed them. How far do we still have to go? And that's probably what they're thinking. But looking back at that game, a couple good, bad, and uglies. We didn't really get into that this week because there was so much stuff to talk about from the weekend. Some of the ugly from that game is back to your point where I think we're gonna have to fix. We're gonna have to fix the running game against Ohio State. I've heard a lot of people talk about, whether or not Justin Fields is ribs are okay, and whether he's going to be 100%, and even some insinuations that I saw. You'll get a kick out. I saw a post yesterday, and it was a picture of someone catching the exact moment that Fields got hit in the ribs, but the caption under it said, "This is the exact moment that Ohio State got caught COVID." so either way, whether COVID legit or not, when you look at what's happening with this team, if we don't stop Trey Sermon, the Oklahoma transfer, it really doesn't matter how good Fields plays, because I know a lot of people say, hey, can Fields play the same way that he did, and if we can't stop the run, it won't matter. They will feed Trey Sanders. And if you go back, I think Alabama wins, James, but when I look at this game, does that kind of concern you that we could see another one of those Ezekiel Elliott type of games against our defense? Because that's what beat us the last time.
Well, I'm concerned personally because of what I saw in the SEC championship. I mean, Kadarius Toney, they threw the ball a lot more, Florida, because that's the kind of offense that they run. But there were times when Alabama's secondary was not able to wrap up Toney in the run, and if they do these kind of trying to think of the play, these screen draw plays and things like that, that could give Alabama some trouble. And listen, Sermon is unbelievable. I'm telling you, watching this guy Oklahoma really lost out on Trey Sermon big time, because he's a talented player. He could do a lot of things in the open field. And I'm telling Alabama, I said it the other day on Tuesday with DC, Alabama's almost going to have to play a perfect game to win this. I know people want to discredit Ohio State for their games, and I'm with you on that. But if they come out and fire the way they did against Clemson, I'm not going to say Alabama's going to lose, because I think they're too talented to do that. But it's going to be a lot closer than I think people. I think that 8.5 that the spread is right now, I don't know if I trust that right now based on what I've seen from Ohio State.
Yeah, well, I've only seen that one time from Ohio State, so they are going to have to prove to me that they can do it more than one time. They had the running game going against Northwestern. And they had everything going against Clemson. So you're asking yourself, are they gaining momentum or not? That's a question to ask. And if they are, they become an extremely dangerous opponent. And you and I both agree that we don't like the fact that Ohio State is even in this situation. But with that dislike comes no disrespect for the team, because we totally believe that this team is talented enough to win a national title. And if it's going to happen, it's going to happen a certain way. We're getting a couple comments. Curtis Moore said, Ohio State ain't got the caliber of players on offense like Florida did. They don't have a Tony/Pitt. And then Chuck Hunt saying running back Trey Sermon is dangerous at Ohio State. I would agree they don't have Tony and Pitts, but I will say they have Olave and Sermon.
I was about to say the same thing. They may be the same level offensively, but based on what I've seen from Trey Sermon again in the few games that I've seen, obviously. There's a lot to like with Trey Sermon, and he's a dynamic running back who's very good in the open field. So Alabama's really going to have to be good as far as their tackling, and I don't want to say they have to play a perfect game, but they're really going to have to be on point defensively.
Well, you would hope in a national championship game, if they got the right teams in there, that it does require a good game. I don't want to see Alabama win because Ohio State makes a bunch of unforced mistakes. I want to see Alabama come out and play like a national champion against Ohio State team that plays well. Now if we make them play bad because of the pressure we put on them offensively, say we get out, 14-0, and then they get away from the run, and they ask Fields to start throwing it all over the place, we get some interceptions, that's Alabama playing well. But if they come out and they're fumbling the ball, throwing it all over the place, who wants to see that? ultimately, in the end, Alabama wins. But I really want to see Alabama come out and absolutely throttle this Ohio State team. I want to see them put their foot on their throat and please forgive my language here, and choke them out, because I don't like the fact that they're in there. And
ask this, Martin, real quick. If Ohio State by some miracle wins this game, do you put an asterisk on this championship for them due to 8 wins?
Well, absolutely. Don't you remember what the Ohio State fans in conference and Big Ten was saying when they were not playing? See, everybody has forgotten that. Do you not remember that they were saying that whoever wins this will need to put an asterisk on it because the Big Ten wasn't playing? Before any games were played, they were saying that. They were saying
they changed the rules again.
What?
They changed the rule. I just thought they changed the rules again because that's all the Big Ten ever does is change the rules for Ohio State. So I didn't know. Yeah,
they literally, of course, I mean, when you look back, I don't know that there's even any of the old school teams that only won 8 games. If you do, where do you have to, how far back do you have to go to see where a national champion only played 8 games for the full season, much less played 8 versus the other one playing 13? I just think about what we just said. Ohio State would have to play 5 more weeks, 5 more opportunities to go out on the field, get hurt, get injured, get tired, have fatigue, have burnout. What's one of the things, like having played the game, I'm going to tell you, it takes a man to finish out a college football season when you play week in and week out. Why do you give buys? Why do you give a bye week? How many times did Florida play in a row before they got a bye week? 8. Florida was a fatigued team. We took advantage of it. They in Ohio State has played 8 games over a 3-month period or a 4-month period, 3.5 months. It's just they're fresh, and they look like a fresh team that had all their players back against Clemson. Clemson looked like a team that had played a full season. So it matters, and it matters big time. So yeah, I'll pout all off season, James. I'm saying it up front. So if you listen to the Martin Houston show, and Ohio State wins, just know I'm going to pout about their national championship all year. So I said it up front, right, Joe? I mean, James. So
it's being honest.
Yeah, I'm just being honest, guys. I don't like it. I do not like it. The only way things ends right for college football is if Alabama wins. And I'm talking about college football. I'm not talking about for Alabama. I really believe this will have changing, lasting impact if somehow Ohio State were to win it at 8 games. There will have to be different conversations, James, in the offseason that that you can no longer say. Think about the committee next year when they're talking about strength of schedule. In the ACC, SEC plays 8 games against SEC opponents every single year. How can you say anything about the other 4 games? No matter who they are. You just said Ohio State playing 6 conference games was enough to see that they were the 4th best team in the country. How can you not tell that the SEC guy who plays 8 games, why do you care about the other 4 teams they play if you don't care that Ohio State only played 6? All right, we got to get the break here. Curtis Moore is making a comment that I want to address because he keeps saying to be man, you got to beat a man. It's not about beating the man. It's about the man doing the same thing. And 2 men, us going against Ohio State would be the equivalent of letting one guy go out and fight. If you're taking a boxing match, for instance, he boxes 4 rounds. Then I come in in the 5th round and we go 12 rounds. He's already ahead on points because he has 4 rounds under his belt, right? I mean, I'm fatigued, I'm tired, I'm exhausted, and I've won the first 4 rounds. You come in, or 5 rounds, technically. I've won the first 5 rounds, and then you come in fresh, James. Who has the advantage? The guy who came in fresh after I fought 5 rounds. Of course, I may be a much better team. I mean, much better boxer. But the fact that I had to box 5 rounds, and now we have 8 more rounds to go, and you win out.
Well, are we talking like, because if we're talking like Rocky Balboa, there's no way I'm winning. Because Rocky always lost in the beginning rounds and then came back.
No. I'm saying the fact that I'm saying because I'm fatigued after fighting 5 rounds and the wear and tear it took on my body. You get body. Okay, let's just and like I know I'm long, and we'll have a short segment in the next one, but I want to get this point across. When did Christian Harris get hurt? Arkansas, right?
Yeah, that was in Arkansas, right?
Game what? 10. Right?
Yes.
When did Landon Dickerson get hurt? Game what?
What was that? 11?
11. So 2 of our most important players on both sides of the balls got hurt at points that Ohio State is still 2 and 3 games from reaching. And you can't, and people say, well, but that was an individual game. Listen, yes, Ohio State is talented, but they have a distinct advantage having not had to play and go through the wear and tear of a season and the accumulation of the hits and the blows and the practices and all of this that go into it. Now, would you rather be a talented team that is fresh, has all your players, don't have those nagging injuries? Because from about the 5th or 6th, maybe 6th or 7th game on, James, as a football player, you know when the next time I was healthy, from about the 6th or 7th game of the season, you know, the next time that I went out to practice and I actually was healthy and did not have some type of physical ailment or nagging injury or sore muscles or tender shoulder or twisted ankle. You know how many games it was before I got to that point, before I was completely healed? I was lucky if it was the bowl game. And if it wasn't the bowl game, it was usually the offseason after about 6 or 7 games. Well, that's where Ohio State is. They're still healthy. Alabama's already into the offseason when I played. I mean, we played 13 games. We were 13-0, and that was the end of our season. And so this was a regular season for us when I played the number of games they've played. And Ohio State sitting at 7-0. Go figure. Anyway, all right, coming back on the other side, we'll have a quick conversation about a couple other things. We'll get some of these comments in, and I know we have a call. We'll take them coming immediately out of the break. You listen to the Martin Houston Show on Tide 100.9.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, we start our Thursday morning accident-free. Now, we do have a disabled vehicle on Skyland southbound past McFarland, so watch out for that. If you see other conditions, give us a call. Start the new year right with a brand new Nissan from your hometown Nissan dealer, Townsend Nissan of Tuscaloosa. You'll save thousands. I'm Captain Ray.
Tuscaloosa Tire and Service, they've got the big brands you know and trust. Goodyear, Firestone, Bridgestone, Cooper, and they can finance for you as well. When you need routine maintenance and alignment, a tune-up, whatever it is, belts, hoses, just basic stuff, or when you don't know what's wrong with your car, truck, or SUV, make it Tuscaloosa Tire and Service. They're dependable, they're trustworthy. That's why they've lasted for over 36 years. Skyland Boulevard, McFarland Boulevard East, in Northport on Lurleen Wallace Boulevard. Check out the website, TuscaloosaTireandService.com.
The perfect place to make your escape. Golden Moon offers 600 finely appointed rooms with incredible views. Take a dip in our Vegas-style infinity pool, complete with a full-service bar and cabanas. Experience the South's premier golf destination at Dancing Rabbit Golf Club, or catch the biggest sporting events at Time Out Lounge. So what are you waiting for? Come see us in Choctaw, Mississippi. Golden Moon Hotel and Casino, a Pearl River Resort property.
Progressive Motorcycle presents Road Wisdom from the Motor. You grab life with both hands, and you grab your bike with both hands. Therefore, bike is life. Figuratively speaking. Progressive Motorcycle also presents Roadside Assistance. Progressive Motorcycle, for those who were born to ride. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates.
Weather brought to you by Tidwell Chiropractic, the only third-generation chiropractor in Tuscaloosa with over 22 years experience. Call Tidwell Chiropractic at 752-7503.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Cloudy with occasional rain across West Alabama today and tonight. The high today 49, the low tonight 38. Tomorrow the sky will stay mostly cloudy, the high 45. And for Saturday, partially sunny with a high in the upper 40s at 49. I'm James Spain on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9.
Scott Smith and Sophmark Design, doing business for 17 plus years, specializing in graphic design services, commercial printing, promotional products, advertising specialties, and so much more. Basically, any and everything you would need to advertise, promote, and grow your business. Through strong partnerships, strong customer service, and creative ideas, they'll help you market and grow your business. Give Scott a call at 205-292-4680 or email scottis@comcast.net and visit them online at sophmarkdesign.com.
Interact with the Martin Houston Show by calling us at 205-342-9904 or tuning into the Martin Houston Show on Facebook.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show. There's a lot of thoughts and comments out there going on Facebook. About this week off, and Curtis Moore saying that Clemson and Notre Dame were giving a week off. You know, Curtis, that's true. But they did that so that one team would not have an advantage, not to give the other team an advantage. That's why they did that. That was because one of the teams was scheduled to play and the other one wasn't. They weren't giving it. They weren't trying to create an advantage for one team over the other. Unlike the Big Ten, who gave a huge advantage to their team versus by changing the rules, putting them in. And if the number of games don't matter, why do we even play schedules? You know, Nick Saban has one perfect season where he, the greatest coach in college football, has managed to go through the schedule one time without a bump. How many times were we 7-0 and then lost? How many times have we been 10-0 and lost? How many times have we been 12-0 and lost? It matters how many games you play. That's all I'm going to say. If you can get to the championship game after week 8, Alabama will be in the national championship game every single week, every single year. All right, let's get to Lake Martin. You're in, John from Lake Martin. How you doing, sir?
Hey, good morning, sir. Doing great. I hope you are.
I am.
Listen, as far as the discussion, the number of games, I'll never forget years ago, I was listening to Greg McElroy on a call-in show, and somebody called in and said, why don't we expand the playoffs like the NFL, and I'll go 16 games. And Mac just went off. He said, you don't realize the toll a game takes on the body. He said, you just don't realize it until you play the game. You do, Martin. But he was saying that when he was in the NFL, he woke up in the morning and his entire sole job was to get ready to play football. In college, you go to class. You go to tutoring. You got all these things you got to do, and then you got to practice and play football on Saturday. He said if you went to that many games, it would just destroy the body.
So you are so right in saying that there's a huge advantage for Ohio State there.
Yeah, absolutely. Without a doubt.
One of the questions that I wanted to have you guys go over, and correct me if I'm wrong, as you have in the past, I think when teams are close, and I think it's a little closer than a lot of the Alabama fans are thinking it is. That they're a good football team. They got talent at Ohio State. But I've always heard in games like this, it's won and lost in the trenches. You can have all the superlative players you want on offense, but if you don't win the line of scrimmage, tight games are tough. I'd like to hear you guys go back and forth on comparing the two lines of each team.
Without a doubt, and we'll get deeper into this, John, but absolutely, it's won and lost in the trenches in so many ways. I think that's why Chris Owens becomes integral to whether Alabama is able to win this game or not. If he's able to, you go back and look at Trevor Lawrence may be the most talented quarterback to ever play college football. I don't know that, but he's mediocre and average when the three defensive linemen from Ohio State camped out in his backfield. When he didn't have time to set up and go through progression, when he would go through his reads and he would step up and that center was that nose tackle was in his face all night. It didn't matter how talented he was. It didn't matter how open the wide receivers were. It didn't matter. It didn't matter how good Etienne was as a running back if there were no holes or gaps open. Trey Sanders may be a beast, but when Trey Sanders isn't getting hit till he's 5 yards downfield, that all starts in the trenches. And so I do think everything starts and ends in the trenches. Alabama voted the best offensive line in the country. Of course, that was with Landon Dickerson. I think this game is a great opportunity for him to show that he is a quality player and can help Alabama win. He didn't play great against Notre Dame, but he will have to play better against Ohio State. And of course, we'll see how that works out. Thanks, Lake Martin, John. We'll talk more about that because I think that is one of the key matchups for Alabama, and we'll talk about that on tomorrow. All right. Hey, let's go to Robert in Mobile. Robert, you're in with the Martin Houston Show. What's on your mind, man?
Hey, man. Yeah, you're absolutely right about what you said earlier about Ohio State and their. Well, we've all said this already, but it's kind of funny. There were rumblings of them wanting to delay the game, and they want a 2 week break after playing one rough game. So, let alone after playing 5 more games that they didn't get to play. But you want a 2 week break from that after you play Clemson? You're trying to, I guess, finagle another week of delay on the game. Ohio State claims they're not trying to do this, but because of just playing last week, when like you said, you look fresher than Clemson. You played with the 5 fewer games.
Correct.
It was a distinct advantage, but you haven't played the game and telling people, "Hey, that's an advantage." That's a lot more different than the rest of us who haven't played college football.
Hey,
okay, you know that's an advantage.
Hey, Robert, think about this. How big a deal is it that this game was not scheduled for 1 week? Just think if Ohio State had to play tomorrow versus Monday.
Exactly.
I mean,
get your quarterback dinged up and another player's dinged up.
Right. When you get to take off every time somebody gets banged up, and I want to address something. Curtis Moore said, "Hey team, do you remember Justin Fields' petition?" I understand. I understand the whole point about Ohio State wanting to play from the beginning. This has nothing to do with the Ohio State being good enough, has nothing to do with the Ohio State players. It has to do with a league that is being rewarded for what they did. This league chose to, let me take you back through it, Curtis, Moore. They were in a meeting. They were in a meeting with all of the conferences, and they said, hey, guys, let's not do anything until we get more information. That same day, the Big Ten came out and said, we're canceling the season. They had a meeting with all of the league, all of the conferences. And the same day, the Big Ten came out and canceled. Then they went and said, we're never going back, and we're not going back. Well, then when everybody else started playing, they come back and say, okay, we're going to do a league. We're only going to have 8 games, and you have to play 6 games to get to the conference championship. Ohio State should not be there based on the qualification that their team and their league said from the beginning. And then they changed the rule to put them in. So why am I wrong?
It's sued.
Huh?
All the parents.
Do what?
That's why they came back. It's because all the parents of the teams in the Big Ten were like, well, we're going to take this to lawsuit because you didn't do things the right way. And now our student athletes are paying for it.
Right.
So you're 100% right. They're terrible. Kevin Warren needs to be fired after this game.
But listen to this, James and Robert. They came back and changed their own rules. They said that the Ohio State did not qualify for their conference championship. Now, Curtis, if it doesn't matter that they only played 7 games, why did the Big Ten set a rule and said, hey, you have to play 6 games to qualify? Because they understand that if one team plays fewer games than the other ones and the other ones plays the full schedule, they shouldn't be in. That's why they had the 6-game rule. Then in order to get Ohio State in, they said, let's change the rules. So the Big Ten itself felt like the number of games mattered. Or they wouldn't have set the 6-game rule, right, Robert?
Yeah. Rules and laws, like the conversation we had before, have to be grounded in more than just you can change them on the fly. Otherwise, you're just a king handing down edicts, and the king's edict can change because he's in a bad mood.
Right.
Rules and laws are supposed to be founded and grounded in more than just how you feel at the time. You can't function like that. But that's how the Big Ten wants to function. Oh yeah, well. Yeah, that was a rule, but we changed it now. Well, then you're not handing down rules of law. You're handing down edicts, and you're a king. But if you're a king, we got to treat you like such. Because you might be in a bad mood today. Well, the king's in a bad mood, but this edict does not change. The taxes were 10%, not at 50%.
Hey, I'm gonna have to get out of here. I'm running late because I got Hank South coming up. But I just want Curtis Moore to answer the following question. If the number of games does not matter about naming a champion, why did the Big Ten have to issue and change their own rule about 6 games? If they had to make a special provision on a 2-game difference, understand the maximum number of games that had to be played was 8. And they felt like if somebody did not play 6 games, then they were not qualified to be to have the opportunity to play for a championship. That's what the Big Ten felt. And so how is it wrong for me to feel like a team that played 7 games should not be qualified to play in a championship where everybody else played at least 11 games and one team has already played 12 games? Why is that wrong for me to feel that way? I don't get.
You should be pointing this out.
Do what?
It's not wrong, and the rest of the media should have been pointing that out a long time ago. But they want to know how I stayed in there. We know how the media does when they want something. Rules don't matter to them.
Right, they're gonna go. All right, appreciate it, Robert. Thanks, man. Coming back on the other side, we're going to get Hank South in. He's going to talk recruiting. I let him know that we were running a little behind because of this intense Ohio State conversation. It doesn't matter what I think, what I feel. Ohio State in, and if Alabama's going to be a national champion, I will give Curtis this. Woo! Ric Flair, baby, you're going to have to beat the man if you want to be the man. And either one of these teams is going to have to be the good team to be the national champion. I'm still not going to back off of the fact that they do not deserve to be there, even though they're good enough to be there. Coming back on the other side, we'll catch it with Hank South, 247 Sports, Bama Online Recruiting.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, we start our Thursday morning accident-free. Now, we do have a disabled vehicle.
We're back in 3.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show. Oh, man, I love those intense conversations that we have. It's great debate here on the Martin Houston Show. You're welcome to your opinion, and I'll give you mine. And sometimes I give it to you pretty strong, but it's still your opinion, and I'm not disqualifying it or discrediting it. But, hey, listen, we have to have that conversation, and I just think that Ohio State barely played enough games to qualify with their championship game to qualify to get into the national championship. That's all they had to do was play 6 games. Think about that for a second. 6 games, and they qualified to be a national champion. All right, let's get to Hank South, 247 Sports, Bama Online Recruiting. Good morning, Hank. How you doing, sir?
Hey, good morning, Martin. I'm good. How are you?
Doing good. I'm sorry about running a little late, but we got into the intense conversation about Ohio State and the fact that they've only played 7 total games, but they're playing for the same championship as a team that's 12-0. Of course, if Alabama had only played 6 or 7 games, would I be arguing for Alabama to be in? Absolutely. That don't mean it's right, but I would be arguing for them to be in. So I get the Ohio State thing. But anyway, it's been kind of fun and intense this morning. I'm going to go ahead and bring Pat in because he had to hold through that challenge because he knows you normally come in the second half to kick things off. So, Pat, you're in with Hank South, 247 Sports, Bama Online Recruiting. What you got for him?
Good morning, Hank. Hey, do you agree with me that this game is pivotal for the recruitment of JTT? That I wanted to tie the game into the recruiting question that I had because JTT has. Hello?
You're still here.
Hey.
Keep talking.
Okay. All right. My question is it the recruiting of JTT in this ball game has a big pull because JTT has been to Alabama, even though it was in 2018, and has not been to Ohio. And that, do you not agree with me that this is going to be a big deal for his recruitment? And even though most of the talking heads are saying we're only going to take a safety, that I think that there's no way in the world we can say no to this defensive end talent.
All right. Hey, what's the name? I think we lost Hank.
Okay. Right. Well.
Yeah. Hey, listen, and I'll answer that from my viewpoint till we get Hank back on. I think without a doubt, Pat, it has impact. I can tell you my son, going through the recruiting process, has learned that, having seen a place and met people matters. And so I would say that, if it's really coming down between the two, I think he's going to look at which one, first of all, does what he does. His position, is it more highlighted at Ohio State or is it more highlighted at Alabama? And so, and in this game, it would be one of those things that would determine. Hank, welcome back in. Pat's question in synopsis is, will the fact that JTT has been to been to Alabama's campus, seen it, had a feel for it, even though it was over a year ago, seeing these two teams match up and they're his 1 and 2 or 1A, 1B, whatever he has going on, could that potentially persuade him to choose the Tide? Is Hank there? James, I can't. James, did we lose Hank again?
Yeah, he's coming. Sorry, we're having some technical phone problems this morning. Hang on.
That's part of it, man. So, hate when that happens, but you look
back with us now.
All right, Hank. Did you hear the question, Hank?
I didn't. I think y'all were talking about JT maybe, but
Yeah.
I didn't hear the question.
Yeah, just a synopsis. Pat was asking, would this impact him? The fact that these are his 1A, 1B, or whatever you want to call it, 1, 2. Does it give Alabama an advantage? The fact that he's been on the campus at the Crimson Tide.
I think in a way, yeah. Everyone that's projecting Ohio State is doing it, with not very high confidence. He's actually JT Tumolo is supposed to be on the 24/7 Sports Recruiting podcast today, kind of breaking down everything. They're going to ask him about the game coming up and his finalists. He's down to 5 now, but most of this talk is just Alabama and Ohio State. But yeah, I think that's a big benefit in this race. Especially going down the stretch, the fact that he's been to Tuscaloosa before, he's never been to Ohio State. So that's one thing to look at. Will he take visits on his own and kind of just get out to these schools and see them for himself? It's possible. I know he's not really holding himself to announcing on signing day, so he could maybe take this recruitment past February into the spring. So yeah, I think that's an advantage right now. Will he get to Ohio State? Maybe. I think that's something he's working on doing. But he continues to talk with Saban. He continues to talk with Freddie Roach, defensive line coach, and yeah, he has that experience actually being on campus. So I think that certainly helps.
Gotcha, fellas. We're here.
Yes. Did you have anything else, Pat?
Okay, that was the only thing. But most people are saying that we're only taking a safety. Does Hank not agree that there's no way we can turn down JTT?
No, yeah, I think he's a guy that they don't want to turn down at all. I'm not sure exactly how much more room they can make, but he and Terrion Arnold are certainly still priority targets. So both want it in. I'm not sure how they kind of make that number stretch work, but I can't really see them turning that down at this point.
All right, fellas. Hey, have a blessed day, Hank. And hey, maybe we can get Sean Payton to come in and do a breakfast speech Monday morning. Have a good one.
Have a good one.
Read it, but y'all want to that. Have a blessed day. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Pat. All right, Hank, you mentioned their top 2 targets. It's just crazy what Nick Saban does with these numbers. But if he has to choose one or the other, do you have a feel for which one of these guys he's going to go with?
I couldn't honestly. That's hard to predict. I think kind of looking at who has a better chance of ending up in the class. I've thought Terrion Arnold has been a Bama lean for a while. I crystal balled him to Alabama back in the spring. There's kind of there's some drama surrounding Florida right now, it seems, with their staff and all the NFL rumors with Dan Mullen. Georgia's been in it for a long time for him. Obviously has Xavier Story now signed with that program, and that's a close friend of Terrion, so that's something to watch. But, it's always kind of come back to Alabama when he's talking about his recruiting. He's close with Dallas Musteri, Charles Kelly. Obviously has a really good relationship with Nick Saban, and has been to campus a couple times. So, he has that familiarity with the program as well. So, I think, if I was making a pick, I'd say Terrion out of, in my opinion, as far as, the better chances. But again, it's very, very close with Alabama and Ohio State for JT. And clearly, distance isn't a factor for him, with these 2 schools kind of seemingly sticking out for him. He still has Washington, where he's from, in his final group, but it really seems like it's going to be either the Buckeyes or Bama come whenever he decides. Maybe in February, maybe beyond then.
All right, looking at Alabama, the fact that the news around Sark was announced that he's going to go to Texas, and of course, there's been some rumors around coaches going with him potentially. And one of the names that popped up, since he is not signed because of he committed after the early signing period, is there any rumors or innuendos, conversation out there regarding Wheaton possibly keeping his recruitment open to even consider going to Texas with Sark?
Yeah, there's going to be rumors, of course, about that, but I don't think there should be too much concern, at this point. Kamar Wheaton considered Texas early, but it was more towards the end. It was Bama, Oklahoma, and LSU. I don't think he's really looking around much. I think, he made his decision after the early signing period, so he just couldn't sign. I think he's pretty locked in with Bama. Just talking to people around it. And with Sark in Texas, I think their kind of main priority at this point is LJ Johnson, who's another elite running back in the state of Texas that they're pushing for alongside Texas A&M. So I think that's kind of where his focus is as he, works to finish their class. So we'll be watching it, but I don't think there's a huge level of concern, and I'm not sure. I don't think, and I say this, but you never know. I don't think Stark's working on, getting a head coaching job and immediately, taking one of Bama's top commits. Maybe, some coaches do that. I don't really see that being something that Stark's going to try to do. But, and again, they're recruiting LJ Johnson, the other top running back in the state. So I think that's where their focus is right now. And I think Kamar Wheaton's pretty set on Bama.
All right. Couple guys who are big time recruiters for Alabama that potentially could join his staff: Kyle Flood, Jeff Banks, and Charles Huff. Of those three, which one would be the biggest get for Sark in terms of helping him get off to a good start in recruiting, from your opinion, as far as just the state of Texas and where they've recruited?
Yeah, the most reports I've seen have kind of linked, obviously, Kyle Flood to the OC position, taking a promotion, and then Holman Wiggins was the other one, I think, that's been linked to going with them. I think there were some reports saying Jeff Banks was going to stay at Alabama. Charles Huff, I haven't really seen too much, but again, it's coaching search season, so we'll see what happens. But I think out of those guys you just listed, I think Jeff Banks would be the most helpful in terms of, getting into he has a background in the state of Texas. He's coached at UTEP. He's coached at Texas A&M. He obviously recruits Houston and the Dallas area for Alabama and has won some pretty big recruiting battles in those areas. So I think if you're looking at somebody that can go in there and kind of help you with that landscape of Texas and keeping top guys home, I think Jeff Banks would probably be the one that, you look closest at. He's currently number 3 in the nation in the recruiter rankings. Charles Huff is number 1, but, obviously he's been a guy in South Florida. He's been in, the Midwest. He's been in Georgia. So, that would help too. But I think, when you're taking over a job like Texas, you're looking to, build those bridges with the Texas high school football coaches and kind of look at the in-state talent before, moving beyond your borders. Because you probably pretty much fill up your whole class with just guys in Texas if you're the Longhorns or the Aggies, I think. But I think that's probably the most helpful.
Okay. Well, we'll be watching that coaching carousel and which guys head off with Sark and take a promotion. Hank, thanks for your patience in working with us through the technical difficulties this morning. Tell our listeners real quick where they can find you, sir.
Yeah, BamaOnline.com. We're doing a promo right now. It's 50% off your first year, so it's a good time to join. And today I think they're doing a joint Ohio State-Alabama message board thread, so that should be fun to see some discussion there. And BamaOnline.com, 50% off right now if you sign up today.
All right. Thanks, Hank. That's Hank South, 247 Sports, Bama Online Recruiting. A great follow at Hank South 247 on Twitter. Tweets out all of his articles right there at Hank South 247. And Hank, we will catch up with you next week, and hopefully things will be a little more closer to normal. Thanks, sir, and have a blessed day.
Sounds good. Thanks, Martin.
All right. Hey, that wraps up this Thursday edition of the Martin Houston Show. We'll be back with you on tomorrow to talk more about Alabama football, and we'll catch up with you on the flip side. Thanks for tuning in to the Martin Houston Show on Tide 100.9.